hit rock bottom on a Tuesday. My car got repossessed while I was in a grocery store counting coins for instant ramen. My phone buzzed with a final notice from my landlord, and I remember the fluorescent lights humming overhead like they were mocking me. I'm not telling you this for pity. I'm telling you because the lesson I learned that week turned my life around, and it can do the same for you if you're in a hole right now. Stick with me, because I'm going to show you exactly how I climbed out, step by step, with moves you can use today. Hey, I'm Emily. I make motivational story videos because I've lived them. If you're 25 to 40, juggling career stress and personal growth, I see you. Recent surveys show work stress is widespread in the US, especially for our age group. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're just in a hard chapter. And chapters turn. Back to that Tuesday. The repo guy was kind as someone doing that job can be. He shrugged, and I stared at the oil stain where my car had been. I could feel my chest tightening, the metallic taste of panic, the way your fingers tingle when you can't catch a breath. I walked home because I didn't have Uber money. Cold wind bit through my jacket. Somewhere, a neighbor laughed. I wanted to disappear into the sidewalk. At my apartment, I sat on the floor because I'd sold the couch last month to make rent. I smelled burned coffee from the kitchen of the guy next door, and for some reason, that ordinary smell broke me. I cried hard. Ugly cry. My brain ran every worst-case scenario like a highlight reel. You know that loop? You think, I messed up my life. I missed my shot. I'll never get back. Here's the first thing I did that saved me, and it's simple. I gave myself 90 seconds. I set a timer. I put my hand in a bowl of cold water, closed my eyes, and breathed in for 4, out for 6. That's it. 90 seconds to reset my nervous system enough to think. It's not magic. It's biology. When you're on the floor and the world is loud, you don't need a TED Talk. You need a tiny quiet. The timer beeped, and I could think again. I picked one action, not a plan. One action. I call it the rule of one. Within 72 hours of a setback, take one move that makes tomorrow easier. I wrote a post-it that said, no 0 days. My one move? I walked to the library because it was warm, free, and had Wi-Fi. I printed 10 copies of my resume. Old school. The printer jammed twice. I nearly cried again. But I left with a stack in my backpack and a little dignity. At a coffee shop, I asked the barista if they were hiring. He said no, but the woman at the next table overheard and said, try the community center on Maple. They need front desk help. Hope is weird. It doesn't arrive like a parade. It whispers. I walked to Maple. The community center gave me a weekend shift. It paid low, but it paid. More important, it gave me structure. The first Saturday, I checked people into a basketball league. Sneakers squeaked on polished wood. Kids shouted. And for the first time in weeks, I felt useful. I set a new rule. 20-minute ugly work sprints, twice a day. Ugly work is the unglamorous stuff that moves your life forward. Updating your resume, applying for jobs, doing laundry, calling the insurance company. I put on a timer, killed notifications, and did one ugly thing at a time. After 20 minutes, I could stop. Half the time, I kept going. Momentum beats motivation. Every time. But here's the twist. My turning point wasn't a job offer. It was a question. The center director asked me why I'd left my old job. I told her the truth. I was laid off in a cut. I spiraled, I waited for motivation to return, and it didn't. She nodded and said, "What did you learn?" I froze. The old me would have said, "Nothing but pain." Instead, I heard myself say, "I learned to make my life winnable at the smallest level." That line changed everything. Because once I believed that, I didn't need perfect conditions to act. I needed micro wins. I started stacking them. Every morning, I took a 10-minute walk before my phone, even in the cold. That's a vote for future me. I built a restart fund in a glass jar, $5 a day, cash. I sold a couple of unused gadgets and fed the jar. Watching it fill gave me a weird electric confidence. I made a 3 asks list every Monday. 3 people I'd reach out to for help, advice, or opportunity. Not begging, asking, a former coworker, a neighbor who worked in HR, a LinkedIn DM to an alum from my college. Most didn't respond, but the ones who did created bridges I couldn't see from the floor. One night after my shift, I stayed late to help a mom fill out a scholarship form for her son's after-school program. We high-fived when it submitted. As I locked up, I felt a quiet click inside. That's when I realized the second big lesson: identity isn't found. It's built like Lego, one block at a time, and the smallest block is action. Action beats anxiety. Every single time. A month in, my 3 asks paid off. I got an interview at a mid-size marketing firm. I didn't have a car, so I took the bus in a thrift store blazer I tailored with safety pins. The waiting room smelled like lemon cleaner and nerves. The hiring manager asked me about a campaign I'd led. My throat went dry. Then I told the truth without the shame. I lost a job. I went through it. I built systems. Here's what I can build for you. I showed my ugly work sprints, my workflows, the community center initiative I created to increase signups by 27%. Okay, that was literally me standing in a lobby with a Sharpie and a better flyer, but it worked. She smiled. 2 days later, I got the offer. That would be a nice ending. But real life doesn't cut to credits. I still had bills. I still had nights where the old fear slid under the door like smoke. So I kept the system. 90-second resets when panic flared. Rule of 1 when setbacks popped up. 20-minute ugly work sprints to move the boulder an inch. 3 asks every week. Restart fund, even when it hurt. The wins stacked. I paid off back rent. I saved enough to get a used Honda that didn't wheeze at stoplights. My apartment got a couch again. A friend sat on it and said, "It's comfy." And I wanted to frame that sentence. Here's the simple truth. Rock bottom isn't the end. It's the ground you push off from. Not because pain is romantic. It's not. It's because pressure clarifies. It forces you to choose what matters and cut what doesn't. Your next chapter isn't waiting for you to feel ready. It's waiting for you to move. Quick recap you can screenshot. 90-second reset. Cold water plus breath to calm your body so you can think. Rule of 1. 1 helpful action within 72 hours of any setback. 20-minute ugly work sprints. Timers to do the unsexy tasks that change your life. 3 asks every week. Reach out for help, advice, or opportunity. Restart fund. $5 a day to rebuild your safety and confidence. If you want a deeper dive on building small habits that stick, I dropped an Atomic Habits link in the description. It helped me translate micro wins into a lifestyle. This isn't a sponsored ad, just a resource I used. You clicked a motivational story because you want a life lesson that actually translates to your real Tuesday. Here it is. Make your life winnable today. Stack 1 small win. then another, then another. You will be shocked how fast reality bends. And if you're in that fluorescent lit low point right now, hear me, you're not late. You're not lost. You're leveling up under pressure. The ground may feel shaky, but your next step is solid. If this hit you, like the video, subscribe for more stories like this, and drop a comment with the one small action you're taking today. I read them, and I'm rooting for you.